Price monitoring across Singapore's e-commerce landscape is a technically demanding task. Shopee, Lazada, Qoo10, Carousell, retailer direct sites, each one applies geo-based pricing, detects scraping at different sensitivity levels, and serves different data to different IP types. Getting accurate, consistent Singapore pricing data requires infrastructure matched to those specific challenges. This video covers the correct proxy setup for Singapore price monitoring, which platforms need a Singapore IP, why mobile carrier proxies outperform alternatives for this use case, and how to configure your monitoring pipeline for reliable, long-running data collection. Here's the core problem. Price data on Singapore e-commerce platforms is not consistent across IP types. Several distinct mechanisms cause the data you see from a non-Singapore IP to differ from what Singapore residents see. First, geo-differentiated pricing. Shopee and Lazada actively serve different pricing, promotional offers, and product catalogs based on the visitor's detected location. A product listed at 49.90 Singapore dollars for Singapore visitors may display a different price or redirect to a different regional storefront. For non-Singapore IPs, flash sale prices are particularly sensitive. Many promotional prices are served only to Singapore IPs during the sale window. For a price monitoring system to capture accurate Singapore market data, requests must originate from verified Singapore IPs. Any other approach produces unreliable data that can't be used for competitive analysis or repricing decisions. Second, currency and payment method surfacing. Platforms display Singapore dollar pricing and Singapore-specific payment options. PayNow, GrabPay, Shopee Pay, only to Singapore IPs. International IPs may see USD pricing, different payment method options, or incomplete checkout flows that make price extraction inaccurate. Third, product availability signals. Stock status and limited quantity signals can differ based on IP location on platforms managing regional inventory separately. Monitoring product availability in the Singapore market requires a Singapore IP to get accurate status data. Now let me cover each major platform and their detection profiles, because understanding this is essential to configuring your setup correctly. Shopee. Singapore is the most technically sophisticated on bot detection. It runs JavaScript-based fingerprinting, applies rate limits at the session level, and uses behavioral analysis to flag non-human patterns. Search results pages are high risk. High request volume triggers captures quickly. Individual product pages are more permissive once a valid session is established. API endpoints used by the mobile app are accessible but require valid session tokens. Rate limits reset after session rotation. Spending a session on 20 to 30 product pages before rotating is a sustainable pattern. Lazada Singapore applies stricter ASN-based filtering than Shopee. Data center IPs are blocked more aggressively. The platform is moderately sensitive to request velocity on category and search pages, but individual product pages are accessible at reasonable request rates. Category pages need 3 to 5 second delays between requests. Product pages need 2 to 4 second delays. Price data, including promotional pricing, is available in page HTML without JavaScript execution for most listings. Qoo10. Singapore has lighter bot detection relative to Shopee and Lazada. Standard HTTP scraping with appropriate delays and a Singapore IP works reliably for most price monitoring. Flash deal pricing during super sale events is the exception. Those have stricter access controls during active sale windows. Carousell is primarily a C2C marketplace with lighter scraping defenses. For second-hand market price monitoring, Carousell data is relatively straightforward with standard configuration. A Singapore IP is still needed for accurate local market data. Retailer direct sites, Courts, Harvey Norman, Best Denki, Giant, FairPrice, Cold Storage vary in bot detection sophistication. Most are less sophisticated than the major marketplaces, but still benefit from Singapore IP access for accurate localized pricing. So why are Singapore mobile proxies specifically the right infrastructure for this use case? First, ASN classification. Singapore mobile carrier IPs are classified as consumer mobile traffic. Platforms running ASN-based filtering, Lazada particularly, cannot block mobile carrier IPs without blocking their own mobile user base. Data center proxies fail this check regardless of registered country. Second, geo-verification. Singapore carrier IPs are geolocated to Singapore with high confidence by IP reputation databases. These are the same IPs that Singapore residents use when shopping on their phones. Platforms,
Geo-restricting promotional pricing to Singapore cannot distinguish between a Singapore resident and a researcher using a Singapore mobile carrier IP. That's precisely what makes this approach reliable. Third, session flexibility. Singapore mobile proxies support both sticky and rotating sessions, which are needed for different parts of a price monitoring pipeline. Sticky sessions are required for maintaining authenticated sessions on platforms where login is needed for member pricing. Rotating sessions are appropriate for high-volume catalog scraping across anonymous product pages. Now let me walk through the pipeline architecture. A sustainable Singapore price monitoring pipeline has three distinct components, each with different proxy requirements. Catalog discovery involves crawling category and search pages to identify product URLs and build your monitoring list. This is the highest risk phase from a detection standpoint. High request volume on navigational pages triggers rate limits. Configuration for catalog discovery. Rotating sessions. Use a new sticky session for each category page sequence. 3 to 8 second delays between requests. Randomized. Start each session on the platform's homepage before navigating to category pages. Limit each session to 15 to 25 pages before rotating to a new proxy IP. Run catalog discovery during off-peak hours. Midnight to 6 a.m. Singapore time reduces rate limit sensitivity. Product price extraction. Once you have a list of product URLs, price extraction involves visiting each URL and capturing current price, promotional price, stock status, and active voucher or discount data. Configuration for price extraction. Sticky session per product batch. Group 20 to 40 product URLs per session. 2 to 4 second delays between product page requests for platforms with JavaScript dependent price rendering. Shopee's promotional pricing sometimes requires JavaScript. Use a lightweight headless browser rather than raw HTTP. Include realistic accept language headers in SG preferred to ensure SGD pricing is returned. Monitoring frequency and IP pool sizing depends on the number of products tracked and platforms involved. Daily monitoring of up to 500 products across Shopee and Lazada requires 3 to 5 Singapore mobile proxy IPs, rotating per session with nightly runs. Hourly monitoring of 50 to 100 key products during sale events requires 5 to 10 IPs, with session rotation after each product batch, running continuously during the sale window. Full catalog monitoring across multiple platforms, 500 plus products, requires 10 to 20 IPs, concurrent sessions per platform, with catalog refresh weekly and price extraction daily. Flash sale monitoring is the most demanding variant. Shopee's 12/12 sale, Lazada's anniversary events, Qoo10 super sale. These require a different approach. During active flash sale windows, platform load is high and bot detection sensitivity is elevated. Configuration adjustments that matter. Increase IP pool size before the sale. Have IPs warmed up, pre-used with low volume requests in the days before, rather than introducing cold IPs during peak windows. Reduce session length. Rotate to a new session after 10 to 15 product pages rather than the standard 20 to 40. This reduces per IP exposure during high sensitivity periods. Prioritize product URL lists. Focus on the specific SKUs being tracked rather than broad catalog crawls during the active sale window. Stagger request timing. Avoid hitting the same platform simultaneously from multiple sessions. Distribute requests across a 2 to 5 minute window rather than firing concurrently. With a correctly configured Singapore mobile proxy pipeline, here's what you can consistently extract from major Singapore e-commerce platforms. Current price in Singapore dollars. Promotional price where active. Original price for calculating discount percentage. Stock status indicators. In stock, limited stock, out of stock. Number of units sold. Rating and review count. Seller name. Rating, fulfillment type. Shipping cost options and cost for Singapore delivery. Bundle and voucher offers. Let me cover the common mistakes I see in Singapore price monitoring. Using non-Singapore IPs for price collection. The resulting data reflects overseas pricing or redirected storefronts, not what Singapore consumers see. Any competitive analysis built on this is inaccurate. Data center proxies on Lazada. Lazada's ASN filtering blocks data center IPs more aggressively than most Singapore platforms. Sessions fail quickly with no useful data returned, not handling JavaScript rendered price prices. Some promotional prices on Shopee are rendered via JavaScript after page load. An HTTP scraper reading only static HTML will miss these prices, returning the original price as if no promotion is active. High concurrency during flash sale windows. Running too many simultaneous sessions during high sensitivity periods burns through IPs rapidly. Lower concurrency with longer per session life is more efficient during sale events. Missing accept language headers. Without ENSG or EGB accept language headers, some platforms default to non-SGD currency display or a different regional price tier. Let me answer some common questions about Singapore price monitoring. How many proxy IPs do I need to monitor 200 Shopee products daily? For 200 products with once daily price checks, 2 to 3 Singapore mobile proxy IPs rotating on a per session basis is sufficient. Group products into batches of 20 to 30 per session, run during off-peak hours, and you'll stay well within sustainable rate limits. Can I monitor Shopee and Lazada with the same proxy pool? Yes, but use separate session assignments per platform. Don't mix Shopee and Lazada requests within the same sticky session. Each session should be dedicated to one platform to avoid cross-domain patterns that trigger detection. Do I need to log in to monitor prices on Shopee and Lazada? For standard listed prices, no. Anonymous access is sufficient. For member exclusive pricing, voucher applied prices, and certain bundle offers, a logged-in session is needed. Logged-in sessions require sticky proxies and careful session management to avoid triggering account-level security flags. How do I capture Shopee flash sale prices in real time? Flash sale prices are sometimes rendered via JavaScript. A headless browser like Playwright or Puppeteer routed through a Singapore mobile proxy captures these correctly. For API-based access, Shopee's mobile app API endpoints return structured pricing data including flash sale prices but require valid session tokens. Accurate Singapore price monitoring requires Singapore carrier IP access as a baseline. Everything else in your pipeline, scraper architecture, request timing, session management, depends on that foundation being solid. If you're building a price monitoring system for Singapore e-commerce, this is the infrastructure you need. Check out the detailed setup guide at dataresearchtools.com. Subscribe for more e-commerce data collection and price monitoring content. I'm releasing detailed guides for different geographic markets. Next video covers price monitoring setup for other Southeast Asian markets. See you there.